Welcome into this week's edition of the Climate Friday newsletter. Meteorologist John Burchfield here as we approach the midpoint of the month of April. And now that the total solar eclipse is in the rearview mirror, we are looking ahead towards a wet and warm stretch of spring weather. It has been a soggy April thus far. Periodic April showers have amounted to over 2 inches of rainfall this month. So we're going to be talking about this wet weather and also the mild trend that is anticipated for the next week to week and a half. So how much rain have we gotten this April and how much rain has fallen this spring so far? When all is tallied up, we've received a little over 2 inches of April rainfall, but there is more rain in the forecast for your Friday, and that will likely add on to that pre-existing April rainfall total. We are over an inch above average in the rainfall department, and that means we've received essentially 2 times as much rain as one would expect in the month of April so far. Now, if you trace this back to the month of March, so our spring rainfall total, we are closer to half a foot of rain, and that includes both March and April combined. Now, we are nowhere near the wettest April. If you look at that list, 1929 takes the cake as the wettest month of April with over 7 inches of rainfall. 2011 is a recent April that may come to mind, where over half a foot of rain fell. 1977 got over 6 inches of rain, and a couple other very rainy Aprils that produced 5 to 6 inches of rainfall. Now, across the entire region, it has been a wet month of April. In fact, as of this recording, flood watches are in effect for every single county in the Buckeye State, and those flood watches are due to the persistent bands of rain that cause rising river levels, areas of ponding, flooding, and localized flooding, especially in those low-lying areas. Now, additional rainfall through your Friday evening is going to be fairly light, only about 1 to 2/10 of an inch of rain. In other words, if you're watching this Friday afternoon, any rainfall that continues is going to be more of the light and scattered variety, as all of the heaviest rain is in the rearview mirror. Now, despite the lighter nature of the rain on Friday, it is still very likely that we'll continue to see light rain and showers throughout the course of the evening. We briefly get a chance to dry things out on Saturday, but the tail end of the weekend may come with some additional rain shower chances, especially on Sunday. Monday provides the soil and the ground a chance to dry things out. As of the last few weeks, the ground has been very much saturated, so essentially it doesn't really have much capacity to sponge up the water, and any additional rainfall simply results in local flooding. Tuesday could bring us some more periodic showers, although nothing really heavy or widespread. Overall, rainfall has become more intense in recent decades. In the last 50 years or so, this graph shows an uptick in the average hourly rainfall rate, so that's more so looking at how heavily rain comes down. And this is one of the climate links that scientists have observed. Comparing the 70s to the 2020s, there has been a significant rise in the intensity, or how hard the rain comes down. Now, in addition to the wet weather, we have some warm weather on the horizon. In fact, we could be on tap for our first 80-degree day of the season already next week. Normally, we see that first 80-degree mark in the middle to latter half of April, typically around April 27th, so we would be a little earlier than usual if it did materialize. Possibly Wednesday, we are looking at temperatures that will surge to near 80 degrees. We will be shy of the record of 86 degrees. That was an exceptionally mild day. However, we still could be looking at temperatures that do flirt with that 80-degree mark. Now, in terms of the warmest April days, not surprisingly, most of them came in the final days of the month, anywhere from the 24th to the 30th, and we've had a few days close to 90 degrees. Those happened back in 1915 and 1942. So even with climate change, yes, we still did have some very hot days back in the tail end of the 20th century and the start of the 21st century. Now, looking at those temperatures, we did have several days that were all in the upper 80s, and we are not likely to get anywhere near that, but we still could log our first 80-degree day of the season. So how do we compare to records? Well, if you look at Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the record for Monday is a whopping 88 degrees, and that is a recent one that we just set last year. Yes, the 15th of April last year was one of the warmest April days on record of 88 degrees. Looking ahead towards Tuesday's record, yes, we're going to fall shy of that 86-degree mark, and we already talked about Wednesday, 88 degrees. 70s, some of the warmest April days ever recorded. We are likely to fall short of those, but we still could see a stretch of days where we are in the 70 to 80 degree ballpark with several days that are above average. If we do set a record, it is most likely that's going to occur, or at least come close to the 80 degree mark on Wednesday. That'll be the warmest of the trio of days. Overall, the long range outlook, it is trending milder, and this weather graphic takes us through the April 20th time frame. So overall, the eastern United States up towards the Great Lakes is expected to be above average in the temperature department, and this mild trend means lots of days that could be in the 70s. Our normal high for this time of year is now trending towards the 60s, so we are expected to be above average there. Now, there is cooler than normal weather across the northern plains and the Pacific Northwest, and that is a possible trend that we are keeping an eye on for the very tail end of April. In other words, it is going to be mild for the next 10 days or so, but the influx of some of that cooler air towards the tail end of the month could result in a change in the weather pattern. Overall, though, it has been a wet and warm month so far. We are monitoring that flip in the weather pattern towards the tail end of the month. And if you're not already subscribed, WTOL.com/email, that is the place to get all of the latest climate information straight to your inbox each and every week. Take care.